Welcome to Alive and Well, the podcast for the new era of high achievers. You're done burning out, and you're ready to lead, work, and live in a rhythm that honors both your brilliance and your body. I'm your host, Michelle Grosser. I'm a trial attorney turned nervous system strategist, and I've lived the burnout story. I know what it's like to chase your goals at the expense of your well-being. And I also know it doesn't have to be that way. Here, we're redefining success. It's where productivity feels peaceful, boundaries feel like freedom, and energy comes from within. Each week, I'll share practical tools for nervous system regulation, time mastery, and somatic strategies so you can show up with clarity, calm, and confidence in every part of your life. Because you, my friend, were given a spirit of power, love, and a sound mind. So here's to life and living it fully. This is the path to feeling alive and well. Let's dive in. Hey, it's Michelle here. You're listening to Alive and Well. Welcome back. So excited for this week. You guys probably heard in the intro, but registration for a Burnout Recovery Blueprint, the January cohort, is open. Yay, I'm so excited about this cohort. So many of you have already registered. It's coming together so well. The room looks amazing, and I can't wait to meet all of you and then really pour into you through the next 10 weeks and watch you take action and change so many of your patterns and truly heal from burnout. It's such a journey every time. It's so awesome to watch the group come together, to be able to facilitate it, to watch all of the growth and transformation that happens in that room. It's just wild. So I am fired up. All right. And today we're going to talk about some signs that you might be experiencing high functioning burnout, especially as a high achieving, ambitious mom, right? Working outside the home, working inside the home, doing all the things. And I think it's important to touch on some of these signs and symptoms here and there, because burnout doesn't always look like falling apart. It doesn't look like how we might see it portrayed in the media, on TV, like what we just generally think of as burnout, right? It doesn't always come with like you can't get out of bed in the morning or panic attacks or breakdowns or what have you. Sometimes, and this is very true, especially with the women that I tend to attract and work with, is that burnout looks like being the strong one. It looks like being the reliable one. It looks like being the capable one. It looks like being the one who handles everything. And I know this because I have lived this. I know it intimately because it used to be me. And when I was running my law practice and I had 2 babies at home, 16 months apart, and I thought that I could just go back to work and that my body would just bounce back, whatever that means. And I would be able to just keep running at the pace I was running before I had kids. I didn't feel burnt out per se. A lot of the time I felt accomplished. My calendar was super full. My inbox was packed, right? People depended on me. I was praised for being resilient and driven. And all the time people are like, man, I don't know how you do it. You do so much. Like, how are you doing it all? But underneath all of that was a level of depletion that I don't know, maybe I was delusional about it, but I thought it was ambition. And what I want to do today is I just want to talk about a form of burnout that so often gets missed, especially in ambitious, high capacity, high achieving women. And it's high functioning burnout. It's the kind of burnout, it doesn't actually stop you from functioning. It just slowly drains you. It drains your joy. It drains your clarity. It drains your capacity. And if you recognize these signs in yourself as I go through them today, one, this episode is for you, and I'm going to give you some practical handles. And this is such an invitation for Burnout Recovery Blueprint as the natural next step for you. So just keep that in mind as we go through these 7 signs. So the first sign that you may be functioning in high functioning burnout is that you're praised for being resilient and capable and dependable, but secretly you feel so depleted. And from the outside, it can look like strength, right? But from the inside, it feels like we're carrying so much weight that we can never set down. And when we look at the neuroscience behind this, it often means that our nervous system is living in chronic sympathetic activation. So just chronic fight or flight. Our body is mobilized all day long. We're solving problems all day. We're anticipating what's coming next. We're managing everything and everyone. And we don't have enough time in parasympathetic states to actually rest and repair. And over time, our system does what it's so brilliant at doing, and it adapts. And it adapts to this sympathetic state, to being in survival state, solving, anticipating, and managing all day long as our new normal. And our baseline stress levels rise, and we stop noticing tension and everything else that's happening as a result of this until we're just beat, right? Until we're exhausted. And it's not a mindset issue. It's actually physiological. It's really in our body. And inside of Burnout Recovery Blueprint, you're actually going to learn how to regulate your nervous system without losing your edge. So you don't have to be less ambitious. You don't have to cut back on all the things that are important to you. I don't teach you to stop being capable. What I do is I teach your nervous system how to come out of constant mobilization. So through the daily somatic practices, the nervous system education, your body's going to relearn safety without needing to go until you're collapsed. And over time, what happens is that as we go through this program, it's 10 weeks, women describe feeling steadier instead of being braced for something all the time. They describe feeling supported instead of being solely self-reliant. And it's not so much about doing less per se, but it's about getting really clear on the things that actually matter and then feeling strong, feeling capable, feeling equipped and focused without being chronically activated and dysregulated in our nervous system. The second sign that you might be experiencing high functioning burnout is that you, my friend, multitask constantly, even when maybe you don't even realize it, even when you don't need to. And multitasking isn't a productivity hack. If you talk to any productivity experts, they'll tell you that. It's so often a sign of hypervigilance, right? And we can do 2 things at once. Our brain can do that. What we can't do is focus on 2 things at once, right? So if you are folding laundry while listening to a podcast, we can do both of those things. Folding laundry is something that we just do automatically without a bunch of focused attention. And then we can shift our focus to listening to the podcast, right? But a lot of us are trying to not only multitask, but we're trying to have our focus in more than one place at once. And that is so taxing on our brain and on our nervous system. When your nervous system's in fight or flight, your brain prioritizes scanning and speed over pretty much anything else, over anything deep, over anything focused, over being present. And what happens is that it fragments our attention and it keeps our system on high alert, even when we're trying to chill out and rest and be connected with our people. And it's why slowing down for so many people that come through my program is so uncomfortable. And maybe that's true for you, right? Maybe you're like, man, I try to slow down, but it's like, I just think of all the things that have to be done. I look around my house, I see all the stuff that has to be done, and I know nobody else is going to do it. And stillness just doesn't feel safe. It doesn't feel normal. It doesn't feel neutral even. It actually feels like something really bad is going to happen if we slow down. And inside of Burnout Recovery Blueprint, you'll actually retrain your attentional regulation at the nervous system level. So I'm going to walk you through and teach you practices that are going to engage interoception. So that's your ability to sense your body's internal workings, your internal sensations, and your orienting responses. So your system is going to learn that it's safe to focus on just one thing at a time. And you're going to find that you get so much more done. You're so much more efficient. You're so much more effective. And it's not as draining. And when women go through this program, I hear it over and over. They're like, man, I didn't know it was possible to be this present with my kids, right? I didn't know it was possible to have all that mental scattering like come together where I feel really focused and grounded. I didn't know I would be able to complete tasks without always rushing and feeling like I'm always behind. But that's available to you. And I think the shift it can be subtle, but it's so profound because your mind's going to stop sprinting ahead because your body no longer needs to. So that's the second sign, multitasking all the time. The third sign that you're experiencing high functioning burnout is brain fog. However that shows up. So your brain just kind of feels foggy. It's hard to focus. You feel forgetful. You're just spacing out. It's that work where like you're sitting down and then you find yourself rereading the same paragraph 3 times and you're like, man, I still don't know what's going on in this email. And maybe you're even sleeping well. So you're not able to attribute that brain fog or forgetfulness to like sleepiness, right? I'm just tired. What's probably going on is that when we experience chronic stress, it really impairs a part of our brain called our prefrontal cortex. That's the part of our brain that's responsible for our working memory and our planning and our focus. And when we have high levels of cortisol, it literally disrupts that part of our brain. It disrupts our executive functioning. And it's why when we feel really foggy or forgetful or spacey or like we just can't focus, trying to push through that, trying harder, like forcing, none of that helps because what you're doing is you're asking an already taxed system, right? It's already overwhelmed to perform at a higher level. But inside of Burnout Recovery Blueprint, what you're going to notice is that in just a few weeks, as your nervous system starts to regulate, your cortisol levels are going to stabilize. And that's going to affect your circadian rhythm. And it's going to affect your blood flow. And it's going to affect your neural resources. And everything's going to be able to return back to that prefrontal cortex and it'll come back online. And I hear this, probably the thing I hear the most from the women at the end of the 10 weeks of Burnout Recovery Blueprint is that they notice cognitive clarity returning naturally, right? It's not more caffeine. It's not, something on the outside that they're like consuming or changing. It's just like decisions feel easier. My memory is improving. My mental fatigue has lifted and they're not getting sharper again by pushing harder or forcing it or being more disciplined or having more willpower, any of that. They're getting sharper because they're restoring their regulation. And inside of Burnout Recovery Blueprint, when we have our weekly calls on Wednesdays, I have a symptom tracker for you guys. And every week we start with that. We pull it up and there's 6 different categories and we rate every single category on a scale of 1 to 10, where we're at that week in that particular category. And it's so awesome that week over week over week, we're seeing progress and wins in all of these different areas. But one of them is in focus, right? Our ability to really zone in and get the things done that need to be done without feeling like we're in brain fog and scattered all over the place. Okay, number 4. The 4th sign that you're experiencing high functioning burnout is that you're feeling more reactive than you want to be, frankly. Because reactivity, snapping, whatever it looks like for you, it's a sign of a really narrow bandwidth, really narrow capacity, right? Limited bandwidth, narrow window of tolerance. And again, when your system is overloaded, you're already at capacity. There's not a lot of buffer between a stimulus and a response. There's not a lot of space there for, our kids' meltdowns or temper tantrums or whining or fighting, or for our coworkers or our employees or our bosses or clients or customers or our husbands. Like there's just not a lot of space because we're maxed out already. So the small things start to feel really big. And we start to find ourselves being reactive without being able to choose how we're going to respond to things. And emotional regulation becomes so challenging because the tiniest little things set us off because there's just no more space. And we focus on this so much inside of Burnout Recovery Blueprint. We actually spend the first few weeks just on this idea of me teaching you guys how to expand your window of tolerance. And we do it through somatic regulation. So actually making space in your body, energetically, somatically, not suppressing, repressing, pushing through all of that stuff. Because here's the truth. As you grow your bandwidth to manage stress, as you grow your capacity to handle what life throws at you without it sending you into a fight or flight response, your reactions are actually going to soften automatically. It's so awesome. And women are like, man, I can't remember the last time I lost it on my kids or snapped at them for doing something. Or like, I just find that naturally I have so much more patience. And when I do notice myself starting to get frustrated or activated or aggravated or what have you, I catch it so much earlier. And then it's not just that I like shove down all of that frustration and anger and pretend to be happy, because that's a short-term band-aid. That's not really going to help in the long term. It's that now they actually have tools to pause, regulate somatically, right? Release those emotions and then respond, come back and respond instead of reacting. And this is like a 2-minute process, but learning and having the tools and the skills to let emotions move through you instead of continuing to shove them back where they came from and repress them and then just like hold everything in until you're like a pressure cooker that just blows its lid, right? We want to have emotional hygiene where every day we are discharging emotions instead of storing them away. And that creates so much space, and it takes an immense amount of pressure, I think, and energy to hold all of that stuff in. So if we experience stressful things every day, which I would say we all do, we have to have tools and practices in place to release that stress in our body every day also. It's not emotional control, it's actually physiological resilience. And then number 5, the 5th sign is that you keep waiting for life to slow down so you can, whatever, name your thing, right? So you can feel better, so you can spend more time with your kids, so you can have more patience, so you can sleep better, so you eat better, so whatever it is, right? But it's always just like right on the other end of this busy season. And then lo and behold, this busy season isn't actually a busy season. This is your life. And you never get to that point where like you turn the corner. And this was me forever. I was always being like, okay, once I just get to the end of this week, next week looks so different on my calendar. And then by the time I got to Friday, the next week had filled up and I was back on the hamster wheel again, because that's not how it works, you guys. This is one of the most heartbreaking signs that I see. It's probably one of the ones that I ignored the most in my life, and it kept me stuck. Your nervous system doesn't just reset itself because, you know, a project that was really stressful has passed, or, you know, your kid's baseball season has ended. Without intentional regulation, your stress baseline is going to stay elevated, because you can resolve the stressor, the thing that feels really stressful, without actually releasing or resolving any of the stress that it caused on your body. So inside of Burnout Recovery Blueprint, I really teach you to regulate inside real life. I'm not talking about ideal circumstances and creating a stress-free life and like all of that is rainbows and butterflies. Like that's not real. But I will teach you how to downshift your system even when life feels busy or stressful or overwhelming. And just that transformation alone is huge, because there's relief without like waiting for something to change in our calendar or in our schedule or in our life. And we give ourselves that kind of stability that we can access internally without everything on the outside having to be perfect. And that is a superpower in and of itself. Okay, number 6. The 6th sign that you're experiencing high functioning burnout is that you just are go to the point where you're overriding hunger cues, fatigue, muscle tension, like you name it. We talked about it earlier, this idea of interoception, right? That's your body's ability, or your ability to notice the sensation in your body. When we start overriding what our body's trying to communicate to us, right? I had to go to the bathroom for the last 2 hours, but I just keep taking calls and working. And I like forgot that I had to go to the bathroom 2 hours ago. Now I really got to go. Or hunger, right? We're skipping breakfast. We're skipping lunch. Fatigue. Like we know we're beat, but we just got to push through. We just got to finish the thing. Everything in our body is tense. We've been clenching our jaw, and you know, we're getting headaches, and our neck and our shoulders and our back hurt. And we just keep going. All of that points to interoceptive disconnection. And it's just a reduced ability to sense and respond to what's going on in your body's internal cues. And your system learned over time that stopping, slowing down, resting, taking a break, saying no, all of those things weren't an option. You were just going to keep going until you collapsed. And we rebuild this body awareness. We do it safely. We do it gradually inside of Burnout Recovery Blueprint, but starting to notice your somatic cues, starting to learn and notice your signals earlier, and then being able to respond to them without guilt is huge, right? And we do so much of that. And I hear women all the time, they're like, man, for the first time ever, like I'm feeling like I'm actually in my body, not just that I like have this body that's kind of like an afterthought, right? But I'm connected to my body. I'm taking care of my body. I'm listening to the cues of my body. I'm trusting myself again. And that reconnection is so foundational to sustainable capacity. And then finally, the last one I want to talk about with you guys is you're consuming all the right information, but nothing's changing. And that was me for the longest time. It's this trap of high functioning burnout. You have so much awareness. You're like, this isn't sustainable. I don't feel good. I can't show up. I'm having a hard time focusing. I'm starting to notice physical symptoms. My kids aren't getting the mom experience that I want to give them because my fuse is so short and I have so much to do, and it's hard to be present anywhere that I am. And I'm feeling edgy and anxious and irritable and overwhelmed and all of that stuff. It's all the trap of high functioning burnout because we're aware of this stuff and we're gathering information on how to fix it. And we have so many books with like highlights and underlines and, dog-eared pages, and we have saved podcasts, and we have, all the things, but we're not actually taking the intentional time to integrate that which we're learning. And it keeps everything, but ultimately it keeps our nervous system operating the same old patterns and nothing changes. And what happens is that as we gather information but do nothing with it, just that act of learning, you guys, it kind of becomes this dopamine loop instead of actually seeing growth and transformation. And it's what I love. It's one of the things I love so much about Burnout Recovery Blueprint is that it's so experiential. Like you're not going to come into BRB and get a PhD in your nervous system. Like that's not helpful. What you need is you need to actually take the actions and do the work. And I have set up for you a step-by-step, really strategically sequential order of events that I'm going to guide you through week after week. So you're not just learning about regulation, but you're actually putting it into practice, right? The ways in which you're thinking, the ways in which you're showing up, your habits, your routines, all of that is being practiced and integrated because you're living it out. And you have the right structure inside of Burnout Recovery Blueprint. You have the accountability, not just of me, but of the whole group. I keep it small on purpose. I keep it intimate. And I say this in the best way possible, but there's just no way to fall through the cracks, right? I'm there so I can give feedback and advice and counsel and coaching on all of the things that you're learning. So you're actually putting it into practice and you're getting the ROI. You're feeling what it's like in this new way of being. And you're doing it over and over and over because it's that consistency, that repetition over time that actually rewires your nervous system. So I don't want you to come into Burnout Recovery Blueprint and leave like having more insight, right? Knowing all of these new things, but still feeling the same and doing the same stuff. It's not it. It's not what I'm offering you. I'm offering you true integration. I'm offering you relief. I'm offering you stability. Ultimately, I'm offering you the ability to grow your capacity to handle life's stresses without it stressing you out. Like, how good does that sound? So, nuts and bolts. Registration is open for Burnout Recovery Blueprint. It's open now. The link is in the show notes, or you can go to michellegrosser.com/BRB. We officially start the week of Martin Luther King, if you're here in the States. It's the week of January 19th. Our calls are on Wednesdays. So our first call is Wednesday, January 21st. And they're at 1 p.m. Eastern time. All of the calls are live. We do different things in the calls every week. Sometimes it's going to be a somatic practice. Sometimes it's going to be, we do an eliminating overwhelm workshop where I walk you through a weekly planning system to reduce overwhelm. Sometimes we talk about that week's topic. So maybe it's how we're coping with stress. Maybe it's emotional regulation. Maybe it's our habits and our systems and our routines, what have you. So everyone is different. They're all recorded. So if for some reason you can't join us on Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, either at all or just on a few different calls, as soon as the call is done, I upload it and you can watch the replay back on your own time. It's a 10-week program, so it leads us through the end of March. It's structured. It's a step-by-step curriculum. The curriculum is on demand, so it's pre-recorded. You guys can watch it or listen to the curriculum on your own time whenever works best for you. So you can put your earbuds in and you can listen to it, while you're folding laundry or loading the dishwasher or making dinner or while you're in the carpool line or on your commute. However that works for you. There's an app. You can consume all the curriculum on your own time. And then there's also a somatic practice library. I have over 40 body-based tools in there for you to start to use, to play around with, get curious about, and see what really helps your body regulate. So I have meditations in there. I have breath work, guided breath work sessions in there. And then I have so many somatic practices that take 2 or 3 minutes. They come with videos, audio, instruction. So it's really easy for you to practice these and just notice what happens in your nervous system. And the idea is that when you get to the end of the 10 weeks, you have 3 or 4 of these somatic tools in your back pocket that are your go-to. And you're like, man, when I start to feel stressed, when I start to feel overwhelmed, when I start to feel anxious or what have you, I know that I can go to these practices and in just a few minutes, I've completely changed the state of my nervous system and I'm able to show up and function and speak and make decisions and lead and parent and all of these things from such a different place. And then we do boundary and capacity training that's really designed for real life. It's not about fixing yourself. This program is really about building a nervous system that can support the life that you've built and are building. So if any of these signs feel familiar, I just want to encourage you and invite you to reflect and be honest with yourself that this isn't something to push through. Like you've probably already been pushing through this for a long time, maybe for years now, maybe for decades. Now make a decision, right? You're aware of the issue, the problem, the symptoms. You've gathered information. This probably isn't the first episode you've listened to of this podcast. You've probably been gathering a lot of information about your symptoms, how you've been feeling, your nervous system. Now is an invitation for you to respond, for you to take action, right? For you to actually do the work. All the details are in the link in the show notes. I'd love to walk you through this next season, the next 10 weeks together. I'd love to meet with you for an hour every week with the group and really watch you as you go through this program and leave with so much more steadiness and regulation and clarity and being grounded and really growing your capacity to handle life. All right. Registration is open through Friday, so I can't wait to see you guys. So many of you have already jumped in. It's going to be such a great winter and spring together, and I can't wait to see y'all come out on the other side. Just so different, so transformed, so alive and well. All right, I love y'all so much. Thanks for being here. I'll talk to you guys soon.
If you love Mommy's Podcast, leave a review.
Thanks for listening to Alive and Well. If today's episode resonated, would you do me a favor? Take 30 seconds and leave a 5-star rating and short review. It really helps to get this show out to other people just like you who could also use the information in this podcast. And if you're ready to take the next step in regulating your nervous system, download my free Nervous System Reset Guide. It's linked right in the show notes. Inside, you'll find simple, body-based practices to help you feel more clear, calm, and connected starting today. Make sure you're following the show so you don't miss out on what's coming next, because you were made to thrive. Fully alive, fully present, and fully well. I'll see you soon.